I'd like to talk now a little bit about a case that's pretty close to both of you, Ali Aliyev's arrest that happened several months ago, and he's still in jail. He's a doctor, teacher, leader of the opposition party, Citizen and Development Party. He has been jailed as a result of an interview with you, I believe, Sevinch. His crime falls under libel, Article 147.1 and 148.1 of the Criminal Code under this new media law, and he's been in prison for quite a while. Bakhtiyar, you were in court when Ali Aliyev was convicted just a couple of days ago. What are the latest developments on this case?
Well, in the past, I witnessed many politically motivated trials and, court sessions. I was shocked when I observed Ali Aliyev's trial because, as we call it, it was an express trial. Within a matter of, a few hours, the process has started and ended. And after a couple of, minutes, the judge announced his decision. So in the past, we had an limitation of independent courts. So both parties were allowed to present their, evidence. They had a chance to present their motions. They had a chance to, postpone those court sessions and so on and so on. In this court trial, I observed that there was a political decision to arrest and imprison Ali Aliyev. So he's behind bars just for the fact that he expressed his views online. And I don't think that it's because of his interview to Sevinch. I think it's because of his continuous criticism of President Aliyev, and in some cases his views against Russia. A group of Azerbaijani officials who accept in many cases criticism against Azerbaijani government, but they consider criticizing Russia as a political risk. That's why they decided to arrest such a high-ranking Azerbaijani political figure. He is a head of a political party, and they declare themselves as as an opposition party. And the leader of an opposition party was convicted in a matter of few hours. So definitely it's a politically motivated case. We don't have to discuss legal aspects of it, whether there was a basis for his arrest or not. The fact is he is behind bars, and he will remain behind bars until there is enough international pressure and domestic pressure to the Azerbaijani authorities that you have to release him. And I think his conviction was a message to other political leaders, opposition figures, that if you don't behave, you will end up behind bars as well.
So I'm wondering if you've been under scrutiny yourself, you mentioned earlier, by the government, and I understand that now you're being charged with libel and defamation, and you are one of the people that his trial, the results of his trial, are being directed to, right? Exactly what you said. It's a message to you. Can you describe a little bit more about what's happening to you?
Well, I don't want to go into details, but right now it's almost midnight in Azerbaijan, but I have to work on preparing a set of motions for tomorrow morning so that I can present them to Baku City Police Department in order to prove that I have not committed a crime. So for some people, as I said, it doesn't work. I mean, if I face pressure from authorities and law enforcement agencies, I continue my activities. But for others, it's a very serious signal, and it says that if you don't behave, you will face consequences. But I was invited to Baku City Police Department last week. A high-ranking official warned me that if you continue criticizing our minister and Azerbaijani, authorities, you may face physical attack from random people, and we will not be responsible for that. But indirectly, he was actually sending a message that we can, like attack you physically, or we can start a new blackmailing campaign.
So, Sevinch, can you talk a little bit about how this Ali Aliyev's trial and conviction has affected you or your program or what you do?
Joanne, I think it's the chilling effect we're talking about when you imprison someone over what he says or what he thinks over some public interview. It's definitely a message for others as well. Do not speak your mind. Do not be critical of the government. Watch what you're saying. And its message is directed to all public figures, political leaders, journalists, rights defenders, activists, etc. So it was absolutely clear from the very beginning that this is a politically motivated conviction, that indeed Ali Aliyev was charged because of his interviews, because of his speeches, his remarks, his criticism, and the way he's treated in prison as well. Also, he's been treated, he has been denied his medications for over 11 days. And only after the social media activists started spreading information about it, that he may die, that this is in fact an execution of a political dissident, only after his medications were delivered to him. And indeed, a couple days ago in his trial, Ali Aliyev mentioned that even while in prison there was an attempt on his life. He said that he was threatened that if he doesn't change his tone, if he doesn't cooperate, someone may give him a fatal injection and he will die. So this is a really chilling news coming out of the prison, that he's not safe even there, and this is a very serious threat, given that Ali Aliyev is a very high-profile public figure, critic of the government. He has been running in presidential elections, he has been a candidate in parliamentary elections, and it is possible that the government is trying to silence him while he's in prison, so that before he comes out of prison and he goes to the elections, that he does not cause trouble for the government. Another thing is that a second trial has been instituted against him, which is also illegal, because we're talking about the same public interview. You're absolutely right. The interview was on Osmanqizi TV, December 9, 2021. So over the same interview, under the same article, Ali Aliyev is having two instead of one criminal cases. So one imprisoned him for 5 months, another one is coming up on February 24th. So yet again another violation of law. Imagine if he was talking about 20 people instead of 2. That means that there would be 20 criminal cases over one interview. So this is a leverage, government's leverage to manipulate him, to try to influence him, to pressure him in order to silence. So therefore you see there is a large public feedback. People are demanding that he's set free, that this is a politically motivated conviction and he should be set free.
So this particular this particular case of these receiving death threats and receiving threats of lethal injection for not cooperating. So is this something that normally goes on in prison? Is this the normal operating procedure, Bakhtiyar, in prison in Azerbaijan?
In the past, when I was a political prisoner, I received same kind of, like warnings, but I did not accept them as a credible threat. But as I said in the beginning of the interview, for some people, it's a credible threat, for others not. I'm a single person. I expressed my views to Azerbaijani authorities that, I'm ready for everything, including like being killed. But For others, it may be a kind of a signal to silence them. But again, I completely agree with Sevinch that it is illegal to open a criminal case, several criminal cases on based on only one public interview. This is a kind of like an attempt from Aliyev's side to lay basis for silencing political parties, because there are more than 50 political parties in Azerbaijan, most of them in a so-called dialogue process with Azerbaijani authorities. And there are only a few political parties which are outside of that process, and the government is doing everything possible to make sure that those few political parties have nothing to influence to Azerbaijani society. And also, as I said, like probably the Azerbaijani government is trying to hold a new parliamentary elections. That's why they want to minimize all risks. But in the past, from Arab Spring countries process, we witnessed that those countries which are trying to keep stability at the expense of human rights, this approach actually like poses a higher risk than allowing some kind of fluctuations. So if you silence journalists, politicians, social media, parliament, you know, like international organizations, how do you get information from the society, and how do you assess risks? So you have to allow some kind of fluctuations in politics, in media, and in human rights and civil society sector in the country, so that you can get feedback from your citizens, hear their voices, and address their concerns. Without doing that, you are just trying to hide all risks, and at some point, a small event, let's say something happens to Aliyev, will it trigger public anger in Azerbaijan, and will it, you know, like call ordinary citizens to go to streets and make a revolution? So why don't we allow ordinary citizens to express their voices, at least online? That's the question.
Well,
Yes.
I'm gonna finish by asking both of you if you can give me some idea what the rest of the world can do. I mean, those of us who are concerned about human rights all over the world, what can we do to mitigate the effects of this silencing of the people, as you said, Bakhtiyar? Not just the journalists and the public figures, but it's silencing everyone. What can we do to mitigate this?
Personally, my expectation from the international community is to express a clear position on human rights. And I mean, I was disappointed in many cases when I saw that some Western countries make a trade-off between security issues, you know, like energy interests, and human rights and democracy. And in many cases, you know, like some Western governments clearly express that for them, it goes like the order is security, you know, like energy security and human rights and democracy. So it should be vice versa, you know, like as I said, in the short run, probably like keeping stability at the expense of human rights can be a good idea for some external actors. But in the long run, it poses a higher risk, because we witnessed what happened in Arab Spring countries after a long time of stability and under the rule of one family or one person. So if something explodes, something triggers public anger, there is a social explosion, then what happens next? So who will fill that political vacuum that is created by a long time one party rule in one country? So it has to be understood by international actors, and they have to address these issues when they meet President Aliyev. They have to, you know, like express their concerns clearly, and also they have to demand immediate release of all political prisoners. So there has to be, as I said, like a set of sanctions, probably, if Aliyev decides to keep such high-ranking political figures behind bars, it has to bring consequences as well.
Savinj, what do you think the international community should be doing at this point?
I totally agree, Joanne. If you look at the latest developments, you will see that the European Commission asked Azerbaijan for help with energy security, given the Ukraine-Russia standoff in case Russia uses its gas supply as a weapon. And Azerbaijani government agreed to help with gas supply. And we start immediately to see further worsening of human rights situation in Azerbaijan. Or the moment the European Commission announces that it will be helping to raise €2 billion support for Azerbaijan, all of a sudden Aliyev government brings back the libel and defamation charges against the public critics, which is still the part of the criminal code of Azerbaijan. Journalists, rights defenders have been campaigning for years that the libel and defamation should be removed from the criminal code and that people should not be sent to prison for what they say and what they think. So as you see, the moment Aliyev government gets what he wants, which is to be at the table, to get the support from Western organizations, it all of a sudden gives the green light to further crackdown of critical voices in Azerbaijan. If you look at the cases when the libel charges were used against critics, starting from January 13, Ali Aliyev gets prison sentence under the libel and defamation. Another critic of the government, lawyer, vocal voice in terror crimes, Ilham Asanoglu, also gets imprisoned under the libel and defamation law. Also 5 prison sentence, interestingly, same sentence period. Bakhtiyar Hajiyev, thanks God, I hope he will not end up in jail tomorrow or in coming days, but they're also pressing the same charge, libel and defamation against Bakhtiyar Hajiyev. Again, these are politically motivated cases. Nobody doubts that if Bakhtiyar Hajiyev ends up in prison, it will not be because he offended someone. It will be because of his Facebook posts and because he's a well-known influencer. He's expressing his view that are sometimes are critical of the government's policy. So back to your question, what is it that international community should do? First of all, these are attacks on freedom of speech and freedom of media. And so this Azerbaijani government should be called to respect its obligations before the international organizations and conventions. And any help, any support, even shaking hand, should be stipulated that they should be conditional on respect of human rights and freedoms in Azerbaijan. Otherwise, the moment you promise the well-awaited €2 million, unfortunately, 10 million people in Azerbaijan suffer as a result of crackdown.
Well, I'm sure we will be discussing this for months to come, and we wish you safety tomorrow, Bakhtiyar, and thank you, Savinj and Bakhtiyar, for your discussion on the new media law in Azerbaijan and its effect on journalists and political activists and average citizens. Thank you
for having us.
Thank you. Thank you.